morning. This is Vicki Jackson, one of the instructors for Southwest Tennessee Community College. And what you see right now on your screen is an example of Competency Builder 3. Now, generally, we meet on campus, either on the Whitehaven campus on Mondays or on the Maxine Smith campus on Tuesdays. But due to inclement weather, we're doing videos right now. So hopefully you'll be able to follow along and understand this. So as you can see right here, it was set up for us to be interactive while we were in class. So for example, once you completed number 1, we were to go to number 3, and on and on and on and on and on. So bear with me, and hopefully everybody will be able to understand this. So feel free to, pause, rewind, relax, but we're going to try our best to cover all of these topics at a certain time. So you're going to hear background noise right now because I'm looking for my pen so I can write this as well. So once again, feel free to stop, pause, follow along with me, or rewind, whatever you feel more comfortable in doing. Because again, this is replacing what we were supposed to have done in class. Alright, so in regards to what we're going to start off with for Math 0530, we're going to deal with the volume. So as you can see for number 1 says find the volume of a rectangular box that is 5 by 1.3 by 2 feet. Well, what that means is you're going to follow the formula for volume. So that's going to be volume equals your length times your width times your height. So what we're going to do now, we're going to substitute those numbers in. So we're going to have 5 times 1.3 times 2. So once you multiply all that together, I have to find a calculator that I do not conveniently bring from the office. Oh, shucky ducky quack quack. So let me use my phone. So hopefully it won't be too bad of glare. Have to unlock it now. Alright, so yay! So we're going to do 5 times 1.3 times 2 gives you our answer of 13. So we already have our answer of 13, as you can see right here. Because it is 3-dimensional, we know that we're going to use cubic feet. And the reason why it's cubic feet, well, look at the dimensions themselves are feet. And here's what they mean by cubic. Again, we have by 3 dimensions, so technically you write it to feet to the 3rd power, but we're going to say cubic feet. You can also see that it says jump to number 3, so I'm going to smooth it on up. Notice how this one also says find the volume. So once again, volume is length times width times height. We're going to substitute our values in. So we know all of them are the same measure. So 10 times 10 times 10 gives you 10,000. Notice that you have centimeters, so again, this is going to be centimeters cubed. Volume will always be cubed. So that's why I selected this one. And ta-da! Notice how we got the same thing. So when it's your turn to do your homework, it may not necessarily be in the same order, but again, you're supposed to be in class. So now we're going to go to number 6. So for number 6, it's asking you to solve for h. And I know it's saying solve for h because looking at it, there it is right there. And you have all of these wonderful dimensions given to you. So what we're going to do is use the same formula that was provided for us. S equals 4LW plus 2WH. I have to throw this marker away now because it is going out. Let's see if we can find another one that is purple. Because I just want a different color. So again, my apologies. You hear all the noise in the background. Alright, so let's try this again. S equals 4LW plus 2WH. And where am I getting this from? that part right there. So let's substitute our values in. So now we got 189. That's what they said S was 4 times L. L is 9 times W, which is 4, plus 2 times W again. W is 4. We're solving for H. So let's try to simplify all that. So we have 189 equals 4 times 9 is 36. 36 times 4 is, what is it, y'all? Let's see. So 36 times 4, that gave us 144 plus 8H. So 4 times 2 is H, so that's where I got that from. Your next step, you're going to subtract 189 minus 144. So now I have 45. So let me show you what I was doing. So I got 45. I messed up somewhere. So 9 times 4. L is 9. 4 is that. So 16 times 9. I got the 144. And I got 8. 189 times 144. That's not going to give you 5. It's not going to give you 5 at all. So, hold on. I made a mistake. Let's see what my mistake was. So you heard the awkward silence because I was getting some pickup. Alright, so let's try this again. We have S equals 4LW plus 2WH, where S is 184. I think that's what I messed up. And then 4 times 9 times 4 plus 2 times 4 times H. So that's 184. That's 144. Yep, that's what I messed up there. So subtract 144 from both sides. Now I got 40 equals H. I got 8 on both sides. H equals 5. Alright, so that's where I made my mistake, y'all. So I'm sorry about that. So now the answers match. Woohoo! Now we're going to go to another formula, which is number 7. So for number 7, you know that you see perimeter, so we're going to sum that because of the P. So for a triangle, the perimeter is known as A plus B plus C. We're going to substitute our values in. So we know our perimeter is 25. We know that A is 5. We know that B is 9. So we're going to assume that we're looking for C. So right now you're 25. 9 plus 5 is 14. 14 plus C. Subtract 14 from both sides. So our answer is 11. So again, my apologies, but feel free to just pause the video, rewind, because we were supposed to be in class. And our next one is still pertaining to another formula. So let me move the paper so you can see it. Alright, there it is. So we're looking at number 11. Number 11 is dealing with the circumference. So very similar to perimeter. Perimeter is dealing with polygon. Circumference is dealing with a circle. We see that our answer is 7.5. So given the formula, C equals 2 pi r. Our circumference itself is 47.1, so I'm substituting, bring down to 2. We know pi is supposed to be 3.14. So we're looking for the radius. So we got 47.1 divided by whatever that is. So let's see what that is. And yes, my paper has slightly leaned to the right. So 2 times 3.14 gives you 6.28. Write down your R. Divide both sides by 6.28. So these are wrong. So now using your calculator, which you can't see, but it's off to the side. So 47.1 divided by 6.28 gives you 7.5. So yes, our answers match up. Again, we're supposed to be in class, and now we're going to another formula. So that would be number 12. That looks like another volume problem. So I can write on this one because I have sufficient room. So volume is length times width times height. So we know that we're going to have 3 times 5 times 2. So 3 times 5 is 15, 15 times 2, and our answer is going to be 30. Notice that your unit of measure is inches, and we have 3 dimensions. So that's where the inches cubed come from. So that's going to be cubic inches. And voila, we have our answer. Going on to yet another formula. We're looking at this number, number 22, is dealing with the area. So given to you, your area is base times height. But what it's asking for is the 5b, which is your base. So A is 40. B, we don't know what that is. But H is 5. So we would now divide both sides by 5. So your base is going to be 8. So moving right along. And again, we seem kind of rushed because we're multitasking right now. Remember, we're supposed to be in class. So for this one, looks like we're trying to solve for an equation. So one of the first things we're going to do is use the distributive property. That means whatever is on the outside multiplied by each term on the inside. So we're only doing that on the left-hand side of the equation. So 6 times 4 is 24x plus 6. Now on the right-hand side, we can combine like terms. So 2 minus 9 is negative 7. Still can combine like terms, so I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. So now I got a positive 6 equals negative 31x. Notice how the 31 is attached to the x, so now I got to divide both sides by negative 31. This is your final answer. So when you type it in the computer, either put the negative with the numerator or type the negative out by itself first and then put it in as a fraction. Alright, we're going to go find another equation. So that's going to be number 14. I like the way we say combine like terms. So I'm going to rewrite this. Okay, so right here, there's an invisible 1. So 1 minus 5 gives you negative 4z. Over here, we have 6 minus 1z, so that's going to be 5z minus 7. So what we just did was combine like terms. Notice how this 4 is already completely by itself on the equal sign. So we're going to subtract the 5 from both sides because we're still combining like terms. So now we have negative 9z. Bring down your minus 7. Because the 9 is attached to the z, we're going to divide both sides by the negative 9. Now remember, 2 negatives, which you see right here, give you positive, so now we got positive 7 over 9. Yeah, we did that. So I'm pausing for a moment. So now we're going to go to number 16. So once again, we're still relating to equations. So I'm going to zoom it down so you can see it. So that's my top down. You can see it. Okay. So we're trying to solve for A. So now we have 6A plus 8 equals 8. Combining like terms by subtracting 8 from both sides. So 6A equals 0. Divide by 6 on both sides. Anything divided by 0 is still going to give you 0. I'm going to move my paper slightly. I'm going to go to number 18. 18, we're still combining like terms. So I'm going to cross these two out and get 6Z. Then I'm going to cross these two out because negative 8 plus 2 gives you negative 6 equals 0. Add 6 to both sides. So now I got 6Z equals 6 divided by 6. Z, latest chance individual, equals 1. So our next problem is going to be number 19, which is right here. And again, I'm going off working kind of fast, so make sure you pause and rewind. So notice how we got a fraction right here. So what we're going to do is change that. So we got A over 6 equals 4 over 1. Cross multiply. So now we got 1A equals 24. So your answer literally is just 24. So we're waiting to about. Now I'm going to go to yet another equation. So you see a lot of me moving around. So here we go, number 24. We have negative x equals negative 5. So imagine if that was an invisible negative 1, so divide both sides by negative 1. We know that in multiplication and division, two negatives give you positive. So ta-da, that is your answer. So an alarm conveniently went off, so my apologies for that. Because we're on the same page now, let me do a quick example of what a proportion is. A proportion looks just like a fraction. And we did this in a previous example, so we're going to cross multiply. So now we got 70n equals 350. Divide both sides by 70. N equals 5. So awesome. Let me move the page down. Now here's one that might be a little confusing. You have your equation right here, but you also have your values of x given to you. So here's your answers. So let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do substitution for each x. So for my first x, I know right here, I'm going to look for negative 2. So 14 plus 4 gives me 18. So I'm going to put 18 right here in that block, and I'm going to check it off. Because you don't have your answers given you, but you see where I'm getting the answers from. Going back to the equation, so now I got 14 minus 2 times negative 1. Substituting negative 1. Two negatives give you positive, so that's 14 plus 2. It gives you 16, fill in the blank. Then I'm just checking it off as we go along. 14 minus 0 gives you 14 because you substituted 0 there right here. So notice all the times I'm doing this, I'm substituting whatever is given to me for x. So 2 times 1 is 2. 14 minus 2 gives you 12. You may also notice the pattern. And the last one, 14 times 2 times 2. That's 14 minus 4. That gives you 10. Now here's where it might be confusing. You see the equation has 10 right there. But here's another way of looking at that. Out of all of these x's, which one gave you an answer of 10? So you had -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So look at where you fill in the blank. Well, where you have an answer of 10, your x was 2. So that's where the 2 came from. Let's do another one that looks like this. So I'm looking at number 9. Here we go. Now I'm not going to be able to do this problem in its entirety because it was cut off, as you can see right here. But you know that your equation is x minus 2. So the first substitution you had -1, the next one is 0, the next one is 1, the next one is 2. So I'm going to have x minus 0. I'm sorry, x minus 2. So yeah, I was doing it right. So 0 minus 2 gives you -2. So -2 goes right here. Now I'm going to substitute in 1. 1 minus 2 gives you -1. Substitute in -1. And then we have 2 minus 2. That gives you 0. Put 0 right here. This part is cut off so you can't see it, but that's a 1 that's supposed to be right there. So now we're going to have 1. Nope, that's supposed to be 3. My bad. So that's 3 right here. So that'd be 3 minus 2 gives you 1. That's where it gives you 1. So looking at it carefully, you want to know what x value did you use to get an answer of 0. So your x was 2 and your y was 0. So that would be the ideal time for you to pause and rewind and find out what in the world is going on there. So far for competency 3 and 0530, we have done substitutions with formulas such as perimeter, circumference, and volume. We've also solved equations using proportions and distributive property. The one that might be the more difficult one out of all of them would be inequalities. So let's look at number 5. Now before we move on to that, let's go back over our symbols. And you can't see number 5. So that might help right here. So here we go. So in regards to the symbols, you may have forgotten what your less than, equal to, and on and on. So when it's pointing to the left, that's going to be a less than. When it has half of the equal sign and still pointing to the left, that's going to be a less than or equal to. When it's pointing to the right, assume that it's greater than. And here's what I mean by the point. Look at the point part. So imagine in your mind you had a number line. You know, any number that is to the right of 0 is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And any number to the left of 0 is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So that's where all this is coming from. So there are different ways you can graph this. So with the less than and the greater than, you will use parentheses or even the open dot. That's because the number that is either less than or greater than is not included. But when you're doing less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, it includes that number. So it will be brackets if you use an interval notation. And then when you're on the number line, it will be a closed stop. So you might want to take a screenshot of this real quick. So let's solve for this. So we got -4x is less than or equal to 16. And yes, I did say screenshot. That was meant for you to pause and then take a screenshot. So right now, notice how you have a -4. So I'm going to divide both sides by -4. So now I have x. 16 divided by -4 is -4. But hold up, wait a minute. Whenever your coefficient is negative right here, you're going to flip the sign. So now we're going to have x is greater than or equal to -4. So whenever your coefficient, that's the number that's attached to the variable, is negative, flip your sign. So notice that you're going to shade right. So I can eliminate C and I can eliminate D because they're shaded to the left. So looking at A and B, hopefully you wrote your reference sheets down or to the next screenshot. Because it's the equal sign, it's going to be a closed dot. That's why it's B. Let's see if we can find another example. So you hear awkward silence because I am trying to find one. So here we go. So we have -4 plus x less than 1. Okay. And you did not see any of that I just wrote down. But here it is. So we want to get the x completely by itself. Notice how this 1 is already isolated. So the opposite of a minus is a plus. So now we have x is less than 5. Well, notice how your coefficient was 1. And we assume that is 1 because it's an invisible 1. Since nothing is negative, you're not going to have to flip the sign. So right here, I'm going to say x is less than 5. You know it's going to be an open dot because it's no equal sign. And we also know that it's going to be shaded to the left. So we're going to look carefully. And here it is right here. So you couldn't use this one because that was -5. You couldn't use these two because they were shaded to the right. This is clearly going to the left. And that was it. Let's do a word problem real quick before we wrap it up because I'm looking at the time. And plus we have additional videos already posted in Pearson. This one is also very similar to a proportion. It says a 150-pound person uses 6.6 calories per minute and walking at a speed of 4 miles per hour. How long must a person walk at this speed to use at least 240 calories? So what we have to do is see what we need to do to compute 40 calories. So it looks like we're going to be dividing something. But the question is, what are we dividing? So we know how long must a person walk at this speed. So they're still walking at 4 miles per hour, so that doesn't mean anything. So we don't need this number. Still using the same person, so their pound doesn't matter. So now we're looking at 6.6 and 240. So when we write that as a proportion, remember proportion is very similar to a fraction, we're going to divide. So now we're going to have 240 calories over 6.6 calories. So once you divide, you should have gotten an answer that looks like this. I'm drawing the bar over it because it keeps going and going and going. Now I'm going to read the answer very carefully. So the instruction says round to the nearest minute. So that means to the nearest whole number. Now be mindful with time. You always round up. So this answer is going to be 37. So you hear the awkward silence yet again. This is your last example. So this one is going to be also pertaining to a word problem. Might help if you actually can see it. So a space plane skims the edge of space at 4,000 miles per hour, neglecting altitude. If the circumference of the plane is approximately 22,000 miles, how long will it take for the plane to travel around the planet? Okay, once again, you're going to be doing division. So that's going to be 22,000 divided by 4,000. So once we do that, I want to see how many times 4 can go into 22. It's asking me to round and round to the nearest what? Nope, it's not asking me to round. It says type as a fraction or a decimal. Or integer adjustment. I can't read. So that's going to be 5.5. So writing it as a decimal, that's going to be 5.5 hours. And I knew it was going to be hours because it's asking for what? How long? And then your unit per hour is miles per hour. So yay! So ladies, gentlemen, individuals, thank you for your patience and time. Hopefully we'll be back on campus soon, whether it's because of COVID has ceased and we've all took our vaccinations or the weather cooperates with us. But please make sure you stay on task with competency 2 and competency 3. Those of you who have yet done competency 2, we're going to have to do that in class. But right now, please, ma'am, please, sir, please, individual, go ahead and work on competency 3. So thank you guys. Appreciate that.